Welcome to episode 98 of the Sports Marketing Machine podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Nizer. Episode 97 was about TikTok's potential ban. Well, obviously that did not take place, but there was definitely some key takeaways in that episode of some of the things you should do in case there's ever been a shutdown on the social media side like there was a threat for TikTok. All right, today's episode 98, I sit down with Vince Surdo from Catch. Catch is known for having their point of sale for a lot of concession stands all across sports. They rolled out a new platform called Front Office, and what it does is consolidates all of your operations into one platform. Everything from sales tracking and management to suite sales and sponsorships and inventory and so forth, all in one platform. We talk about how this is helping teams stay organized, stay efficient, and so much more. Vince Surdo, welcome to the Sports Marketing Machine podcast. Excited to have you.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here. I know we've been chatting for some time, and I'm really happy to be here.
So let's talk about your new software with Catch. It's called Front Office. What is it? How does it work? We're going to dig into all the details, but high level, what is it?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically what we do for teams is we currently provide like POS and mobile ordering, anything that has to do with transactions during ball games, any sort of live interactions with payments, anything like that, right? Basically, we just launched this new platform called Front Office, which is basically getting teams away from Excel and the spreadsheets, and basically we'll call it a chaos of their operations, where throughout this past year, we got a lot of teams that were basically having issues when it came to their operations of things. So this new platform, which I'll be more than happy to dive into, is basically a one-stop shop for teams to effectively run their organization. That's why it's called Front Office. It's a front office platform where teams can manage a whole variety of things in one system.
Love it, love it, love it, love it. So Catch, when you started the company, you realized there was a hole in the industry for minor league sports teams in general, for mobile ordering. So a fan can sit in their seat, order a hot dog, they deliver it or they go pick it up or what have you.
Correct.
As you're working with teams, you realize that there was an absolute chaos, spreadsheet jail, how they were organizing it, how they were talking to different departments, and you said, I think I can fix this problem.
Almost to a T. So basically, we'll talk strictly 2024. So we see a lot of data with transactions because, we are a point of sale system. Like you mentioned, we do the mobile ordering, which is where the company started. Specifically towards the second half of the summer, I was getting phone calls from a bunch of teams in different types of backgrounds. Some are minor league, some are professional, amateur teams, some are college summer ball, some are AAA teams, kind of all over the board. Basically, I would say complaining/ranting about the frustrations that they had in the operations. Whereas, all these teams, when you get into it, and, what happened was I sat down and I listened. I actually drove on site to some teams and actually spoke with ownership, being like, hey, what actually is going on here? And you kind of find out the underbelly that teams have different types of departments in their organization. You have, your sales spreadsheets, you have your food and beverage spreadsheets, your operations spreadsheets, your marketing, your billing, your invoicing, your accounting, all these different things, and things aren't really talking to each other that much. We can go into ticket sales, we can go into CRM, financials, but basically the main pain that happened was specifically the food and beverage operators were basically saying, Vince, we're having issues in the suites, and that was kind of where we saw the main pain was, hey, a sales rep booked a suite out for the year or even booked a sponsorship, sold it. Okay, after it's been sold, it's going in 3 different Excel documents. And what happens if the customer calls back and they want something updated, or they want, a new package, or they want to add something on before they come in? Well, what was happening was sales reps and other team members were updating maybe one spreadsheet, but then it wasn't going to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what would happen, right? Things would get missed. It would be a nightmare for the food and beverage operations people. And then who ends up getting affected are the premium clients, which is where a lot of these teams make a lot of their revenue, is the premium sales and sponsorships and like those whales, I like to call them, of clients. So kind of figuring this out with a few teams, it was more, hey, does every team have this problem? And kind of going across the consensus of just where we're at now, it does seem like there is a pretty resounding yes that teams are just struggling with the chaos of, okay, now we're in Excel. Okay, then we shoot it in email. Then we go into Slack. Then we go into SharePoint. Then Google Drive. Oh, let's go back into Teams and like message a little bit. And then what happens is with all the different moving pieces of the business, it's just scattered chaos. So that's kind of where, we initially, like I said, it wasn't necessarily a hunch from myself. It was, teams were literally, and I'm being very specific, like they were begging us to build something like this. And the feedback that we have gotten has just been overwhelmingly positive so far.
Love it, love it, love it. So let's walk through a use case situation. Let's say I'm a group sales director for a baseball team, just using that as an example. I've got 3 folks, they're selling group picnics and holiday parties. They're doing all that good stuff. We've got one person that manages the suites. So all of that information of what time serve time is, the buffet time, whatever they're eating, all the suite stuff, who's in the suites, what they're getting, how many tickets, all of that information is no longer scattered in a bunch of different spreadsheets. It's in one spot, right?
Correct, man. You're hitting it. you're on point. So yeah, in that specific use case, like that's exactly what the original pain was meant to solve, right? That was the original pain point where, hey, we sold a package. Okay, now what happens? All right, the food and beverage director, the operations director has to relay that to his team. Okay, if something gets updated, that should still be all in the same view. Where, hey, if somebody, okay, there's an avocado, we'll use an example, an avocado allergy. Well, food and beverage needs to know that. So if they're making burgers or tacos or anything of that sort, it's updated instantly. And there's a timestamp. So basically, like in the portal, when you have your bookings, your events, there's a chat in each booking where you can tag team members where they're notified, and there's a timestamp on that. So there's no longer a, hey, I already told you this. And no, I didn't. I never got that email. Well, you can see it right there. You can see the time it's been updated. Same thing goes with commissions or any sort of tips that get added on. Another big thing that we've been seeing is when it comes to payments, like reconciling, like, hey, when you charge a suite, do you bill them in the moment? Does it work over time? Is it comped? All of that data of how you're tracking things and also the effectiveness of what you're selling in the suites should not be scattered in Excel and spreadsheets because you can't leverage that. It's great to just data entry, which is, I guess, very step one. But for teams to take that next step, they're leaving so much data on the table that they could be leveraging at their end of year reporting, at their end of year meetings when they're saying, hey, let's look at the suites. Let's look at the premium boxes. Let's look at all these areas that were bookings, all like the picnic areas, the patios. What's been selling? Who's been buying what? So when we kind of evaluate, hey, what's our bottom line looking like? We have that data right at our fingertips and very easy to digest.
Well, let's go through. So there's one thing about organizing the information and putting it in a spot so people operate more efficiently, and then there's better collaboration. There's one piece of that, but then the checkout process. You said payments, and I want to kind of dig into that really quick. Obviously, you can accept payments because that's what the system was built on, was a payment, a point of sale software. But most teams are running these payments through their ticketing software. So if it was a company picnic and it was $1,000, just using like round numbers here, it includes hot dog, chips, and a drink or what have you, they're running that to the ticketing software and assuming it's going to split it off in the back end, or they'll get an invoice from their concessions company and they'll pay that, and it'll all work out in the wash, right? But you can legitimately run a credit card payment through your software that day, so they don't have to do it in a ticketing software either that night or in the morning. Kind of walk me through, why should they do it through your software rather than the ticketing software?
Yeah, so to add to that, ever since we built this platform and we've been showcasing it, I know me and you met at the Summer Ball Summit where I showcased it. We have had almost every massive or major ticketing provider contact us to work on an integration where maybe there is that flow of connection between box suite sold to, okay, now it shoots into us, right? Every company runs things differently. So we do have integrations there. On the other side, the big thing that I want to convey is you always have options in our
Hmm.
platform. So especially when it comes to payments, and that's part of the question that I always ask is, hey, how do you guys collect your money on these suites or these packages? Is it down payment? Is it over time? So the answer is yes, you can do all of that in our system as well. I recommend having everything in one. So
Hmm.
that's where like you can still run things through your ticketing software, and some teams don't even necessarily use that payment side of the front office platform. It
Hmm.
might only be used for sponsorships where they don't need to necessarily go through the ticketing side. They can just, hey, if you have a card on file, you can run that card up or ring them up, and you can always get a receipt on that. You can send invoices. You can do auto split payments and stuff like that. And the whole thing too is also being able to remind your staff. So, hey, if you're doing a payment plan where let's say you sold a box and you're doing 3 payments over time, you want to make sure you know, okay, we need to bill this person in 2 weeks. Or,
Hmm.
hey, it's a day after, we're overdue. We need
Hmm.
to make sure, hey, we either charge them, send them an invoice, or we could also do, bank account on file. So it's just a variety of things, but the whole thing is to help streamline the overall process of billing, payments, and all of that.
Gotcha. And I like the sales tracking component of this because
Mhm.
you can actually get some pretty in-depth information about your suites, your picnic areas, your parties, all of this details. It's typically living in a spreadsheet. I remember my days, Birmingham, Alabama. We were, like I was part of the group sales team, and like
Yeah.
all of us had our own spreadsheets of who bought tickets, and then at the end of it, we had to back out food money and what have you. But here, you're tracking everything inside of one platform, so you could say Jeremy sold X, Johnny sold Y. You can see all of that and export it so that it's easier on us and we could focus on selling versus trying to be data entry people, right?
Yeah, and when general managers, sales managers, ownership groups, right, when higher offices or higher roles are looking at that data, they need to see who's been selling what, how are things selling, basically getting more than just okay, who's the person and what are they interested in buying,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's giving you that more of that next step where it kind of flirts with like CRM world, but the whole premise is more like okay, if I can get that data, right? Let's just talk an example of a business, Bob's Construction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bob's Construction might have a VP that calls, or you guys, a sales team calls them every year. They have a package, they get it every year. That's great. But what if we can go even further on that to track, okay, what's he been buying? When has he been buying stuff? Are there other people in his organization that they might want an upsell package too?
Mm-hmm.
So it's being able to leverage that data and not get your reps kind of scattered, whereas the management can also view from like a bird's eye view too to track, hey, how is our organization doing? And not just pipeline or theoretical. It's
Mm-hmm.
actual sales, it's actual money and dollars coming in and out.
So how can you see? Okay, so Bob's Construction here.
Yep.
Bob books the party every year. 80 people come out, get hot dogs, hamburgers. They do all that. How can you see the next level down that someone else might be interested?
Yeah, so part of that could be how the team wants to collect their data, right? It could be through mobile ordering if there's something offered there. It could be where, there's some sort of discounting that, hey, if you offer that, it's more so like there's multiple ways
Mm-hmm.
to pick that option.
Yep.
But part of it, like we have some teams that, for example, we'll just stick on the mobile ordering side of things. They have in-seat service or in-suite service where they leverage our system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, every time a fan technically places an order, they have to put in their phone numbers and emails and agree
Mm-hmm.
to terms of service. So with that, we don't store any sort of payment data. We don't do anything like that. That's against compliance. We don't touch that. It's more so, hey, I can see if Jenny, who is in the Bob Construction Suite, every time she comes to the game, she orders 3 different times.
Yep.
Okay, so now I can leverage that data to maybe shoot her a targeted message or give her maybe a phone call at the end of the season saying, hey, we really appreciate you came out. We're having this new special we're offering. Just want to see, it just gives
Mm-hmm.
teams that option, right? It gives teams that data to leverage. And then with those bigger groups, it's able just to get further through just the sales numbers. It's able
Mm-hmm.
to say, okay, what's being ordered, right?
Sure. Sure.
Who's tracking what? And then when you're going through your menus for the next season, you kind of have that data to adjust.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. If I know a lawyer friend, he's got a suite, gives us tickets. We go out, say, you know what, we're going to order some food. We scan the QR code inside of the suite. We order whatever it is that we want. And then all of a sudden you've collected our information. You know what we've purchased. You know what we like. You know what we don't like. And if we come out 5 times and each time we spend $1,000 on food, it's like, well, maybe we should call Jeremy about booking his own suite because he just comes out and has a party every time he comes out. So, okay, totally makes
That's
sense.
some great. Hey, those are some big orders.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you do $1,000 worth of food. That's a party.
Yeah.
So how would you do that on the group sales side? Because that makes sense on the suites. Could you do it on the group sales?
Yeah, you can, as long as you're getting that contact information from the client.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are other ways, for example, we have some teams that they might have an upsell that day, right? Like they come in the suite, they already have their prepackaged menu, they have their beer basket over here, they have their buffets and stuff, and then maybe outside of that, like everything's basically like add-ons.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, because there's so many different use cases, right? There's so many different things, but we've had it where, let's say, another executive is in that suite and they just want to get, another bucket of beer just for them and their buddies. And it's just, hey, we're not going to charge that card on file, but we can ring up this new executive's card and we can get their information that way. So there's a lot of ways to do it, but when it comes to the group sales stuff, it's a matter of having that relationship, and also the clients themselves, they can also add in more contact info if they would like.
Sure. So I just thought of this idea as we're talking here. So let's go back to Bob's construction company here. He does that 80-person picnic. Mm-hmm. Well, you could have an upsell opportunity. Bob didn't choose to add on ice cream for everyone, but you could, hey, scan this for $1 off to get the ice cream. And everyone that scans it, you collect everyone's information. We deliver the ice cream, or they can come pick up the ice cream. Something like that, where there's some add-ons for some of these group picnic areas. So I see teams using Fivo and Spinzo to collect all of the names in the group. So in this case, 80 people, they're trying to get the other 79 names, right? But thinking through, I can use Catch to be able to do this, to collect more information because people are scanning in and buying add-ons and what have you in picnic areas.
Absolutely. And I think that data is valuable when data is valuable, right? Like, my big thing with just any sort of data collection is we are not trying to just, we'll say, spam somebody. We'll say that. Like, people are using our platform as a service. So they're active fans. Really, no other system out there can do a good job of tracking what your fans are doing the second they walk into the ballpark. So that's like a big thing that we really pride ourselves on, is being able to kind of, we're providing a service, but we're also trying to enhance that experience on the back end too by working with the teams, not just giving them the data, but giving them actionable data where they can actually take that data and say, hey, like you said, oh, maybe 50 people wanted that ice cream. Okay, now we have that. Now we don't just have a list of people that we randomly can spread and pray that we might upsell something. It's just giving you more tools to have success. Data's great, but if you don't use data in the right way, it's just going to sit there. And it's almost like what is valuable and what isn't. So we at Catch, we have, I built the company, grew the company basically listening to teams and understanding what is going on. How can we make their lives easier? And if there's one thing that's a takeaway from today, that is the number one goal of this new platform we just launched. It was built literally from teams begging us and asking us to solve their problems. This was not necessarily a, hey, we think this might work. No, this was literally from teams that helped us scope this out. So we're continuing to update and always adding on and getting feedback from teams that have already been on the platform. But we're just very excited to see where this can grow and overall just help teams run a better business.
Love it. When you start talking about data like that, the wild hair gets up posted on my back here. I'm a data guy. So one of the things that I realize as I work with these teams is that some of them aren't as fired up about data or as understanding and knowledgeable how data works. And I typically try to handhold a little bit and spend some time with them. Is that something that you do at the end of the season? You help them pull all the reports and say, hey, let's look through all of this, and maybe there's a golden nugget or 6 that I can pull out to help you guys make some sales for next season. Do you currently do that?
Yeah, every year. So we're very adamant on our relationships. Like, that's a very big thing that we have kind of implanted. in the industry. Teams that use Catch understand like, hey, if there's a problem, number one, you can always call or text somebody and they will get back and solve that problem as quick as we can. But to answer your question, I think to take a step back, if your providers and your companies that you partner with are not touching base with you and are not doing that job to understand, hey, what sort of things do you guys look at, or how can I make your life a little bit better, you might want to consider looking at other options. So to answer your question, yes, especially with this new platform, I would argue and say that's probably most of what my day-to-day is now, is getting feedback from teams, not even just from our platform, but just the data that they have. It's like, okay, what are you looking at? All right, well, how are you leveraging that? So another example, one of the newer things that we're actually implementing now to be uploaded into the platform now is more like suite inventory, where, I'm sorry, not suite inventory, sponsorship inventory, where if you have, like, let's say you have 9 signs on the right field wall, okay, you sell 1, now you're down to 8. But you should still be tracking every point of anything that has to do with that sponsorship, any point of contact, any billing, any sort of data that you can capture. And the same thing goes with the suites, where, hey, at the end of the season, it's great to look at overall sales reports. Like, that's awesome. Like, you can see that data, you can kind of find that pretty easily. But what if we got even further? Okay, I can see that suites 1 through 4, they usually order this type of buffet. Okay, let's dig a little further. Why are they doing that? Okay, maybe it's the same type of business model, or customer model. Maybe it's, the time of games. Like, there's so many different points that can give teams a little more insight into how to kind of analyze at the end of the year. So we always have an account manager that always does that, where they kind of walk through things. And especially with this new platform, I wouldn't even say we wait till the end of the year. We definitely have more of an ongoing account management, customer relationship management, that we want to make sure, hey, whatever data we do have, they can see it. And also, hey, are there things that we don't? So if there are, well, let's work together. Okay, how do you want to view that? Is this something that all teams would like, or is this just like a specific use case? So it just kind of varies, but relationship is the key to make sure this has success.
Absolutely. Oftentimes I see teams get caught up in the wrong statistic. Oh, we sold a bunch of hot dogs. Oh, that's great. But who were the people who bought the hot dogs? Yeah. Let's go sell more hot dogs to them, right? So that's great that you all have a very active approach when it comes to the relationship and how they're using the software and always getting feedback. Is there any special, if a team wanted to sign up or at least check it out or do some sort of test drive, what would that look like with you?
Yeah, so I'm glad you asked that. So obviously wanted to announce, with our new launch of this platform, that any team that does sign up before the 2025 season, we are offering a 30% discount on any monthly fees. And that's, to be fully transparent, that's a great offer as we continue to scale this product up, because the more features that do get added and the more things that can be done, obviously the costs do come with it because there's more things that can be done. So it's a new offer that we're doing. So just to recap, 30% off for any team that does want to sign up with our front office platform before the 2025 season.
Awesome. That's marvelous. I will put your email in the show notes. So if teams are interested, they could just email you. And want a phone number in there too, or just your email? What works better?
Both. Yeah,
okay, cool. I will put both in the show notes. So if teams reach out, that would be great for them to at least take a look at it, see how other teams are using it. Maybe they hadn't even thought about this. And sometimes teams are just so set in their ways that they're using spreadsheets and what have you, and they're spending so much time living in the spreadsheets that this is going to give them so much more time left, because it's just a couple clicks to do what typically would take 30 minutes or what have you. So I think this is such a great opportunity. The other piece too, and I brought this up in my my first of the year, end of the year podcast, was predicting what's going to happen in 2025. And one of my predictions is I feel like mobile ordering is going to, so the lines at the concession stands are going to start to decrease, because I feel like mobile ordering, or even that Amazon walk in, walk out, those things are going to consistently increase over the year. Now, being a guy who does mobile ordering, do you see mobile ordering just growing as the season progresses for teams?
That is a great question. I would say yes. It all depends, no matter what. And I tell every single team this. It all depends on how the back end is. It all depends on your operations. if you put mobile ordering in the corner and don't really put much effort into it and don't put the QR codes out and don't let fans know about it, well, then you're not going to get many orders. I love the just walk out technology. I think it's great, but I also understand how expensive that is and the logistics that are required to even build something like that. So that's kind of where we've had more success than basically any platform when it comes to mobile ordering, because the same approach that we're taking with the front office platform, we've taken with mobile ordering, where it's all about the back end. It's not about orders being placed. That's great. We can get that. But hey, how are things being processed? So a lot of the customers that we work with are looking to build because the first year they might have rolled it out and it went well, but we want to get more fans on it, right? We want to get the back end more used to it. So that there's always adaptions and updates, but it always just comes down to the team. If the team is bought in on implementing a new technology, and this is another thing that I say, like the thing that I see, what separates good teams to great teams when it comes to like the business and the organization and like just we'll talk revenue and sales is the teams that are willing to take that next step. And a lot of it is uncomfortable for a lot of the industry because they're not sure. There's a little, timidness when it comes to adopting new technology, which they should be to an extent. But when it works and when it's implemented the correct way, which we have the data that shows that, and we know it's a formula. We know how to do it, when to do it, why we're doing it. It pays off. We have some teams up north in the West Coast Baseball League that they are pushing their fans to go to mobile over even walking up at the counter, where a lot of teams kind of have it as an add-on. Some teams are starting to take that full transition where they want to do that. But on the other side, they also have the staff to do that too. Correct. So it all depends on the operations. But I agree with your prediction where if more teams do invest into it, the fans are going to come. The fans are going to pay. And that what ends up usually happening is when it's done the right way, fans rarely go backwards. If you cannot wait in line and you can stay on your phone and order and it's done correctly and you get a text message update, whether you go pick it up or they bring it to you, whatever the case may be, most likely they're not going to go back to go wait in line unless they're already up at the bathroom and they're already up. So you want to hook them in. You don't get many chances. And that's kind of where I really preach that when I am talking to teams that haven't used us or have used another software in the past. I'm very, hey, if we're going to do this, let's do this right. And that might mean we have to walk before we run. So I agree with you. It's just a matter of how the organization wants to implement it.
Yeah, and I came to this assumption or prediction based on just the sheer logic of, well, we all love Amazon because of convenience. I click a button today and it's on my porch tomorrow, right? Yep. And then DoorDash, same thing. I want to order chicken nuggets. I can have chicken nuggets delivered to my front door in 30 minutes, and I don't have to get out of my pajamas. Like, it's great, right? But, like, people are willing to pay for convenience, and I think that's the part here where I believe you're doing a better job with the teams that are switching to mobile ordering to help them communicate, promote, advertise that they're doing mobile ordering so it's easier for the fans. But I agree with you 100%. Once you do mobile ordering and you realize how easy it is, you're like, I'm not standing in line. No thanks.
Yeah, the potential is massive. But as I said again, and I'll repeat myself, it's all about the back end. Yep. That's what makes us successful. It's not like Grubhub, DoorDash, they do a great job in their retail, in their restaurant world. But, I don't know many restaurants that have 10,000 people that come in and can potentially order. So there's so much more than just the orders coming in. It's training staff. There's a lot to it. But like I said, the organizations that take that approach and they take that mindset of, hey, this is where things are moving towards. This is where, let's look at the next 10 years. Mobile ordering is only going to go up if teams adopt it. But if they don't, they're going to be stuck with the long lines. And every year I'm going to get hey, we had the survey at the end of the year, and our biggest complaint was the lines were long. And, well, what are you doing to fix that? Well,
correct.
We're just going to add more menu items. It's like, no, it's not. That's
not going to fix it for
sure.
So
it just kind of varies. But, yeah, it's all about adoption.
Yep, absolutely. And then the last piece of this to land the plane is that when they do mobile ordering, you're actually collecting their contact information and information about the fans. Whereas if they buy in line, you're not collecting that for numerous reasons. So the more you can get them to buy online, buy on the mobile order side of things, the better it's going to be for the team, better experience for the fan, and you're collecting their information to be able to come back to them and talk to
Yeah.
them about potentially buying something later. So always great things when we're talking data and trying to
Yeah.
get teams to help them stay more organized, work more efficiently, and make more money.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree with you more. It's
Yeah.
all about, making the fans have the best experience and making them coming back,
Yeah.
right? Like fans are great, but recurring fans are better. And that's
That's
what,
right.
my job is to, I've kind of heard it all, seen it all when it comes to stadiums, ballparks, any sort of like live event and arena. And so that's kind of where I really like to get, with our team, we really like to get our hands dirty to understand like, hey, how can we make sure each client that we have has success? And that's part of this new front office platform, which makes me crazy excited as we continue to grow it out.
Fantastic. Well, I appreciate you extending the 30% off. Your contact information is going to be in the show notes. Allow teams to be able to reach out to you, kick the tires, take a look, see if it makes sense for them, and then go from there. But I love where you're headed. I love where the company's headed. I love how it makes it easier for teams to operate and stay all on the same page, because that happens all the time. Having been in the shoes of these people that work in a lot of these front offices, I know it's a mess. And how do we make it easier? And this front office from Catch is a great way to be able to do it.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, we're very excited. The future is endless. So there's a lot of things that we're doing, and yeah, like you said, our main premise is to help teams, no matter what. If we can help them, obviously make more money, that's great, drive more revenue. But at the end of the day, if we can make them operate their business more efficiently, that's going to lead to more happier customers, and it's going to make their lives a lot easier.